Kai had always preferred the edges. In a room full of beings from countless worlds, he instinctively moved toward a quiet corner of the grand hall. The hall itself was enormous, almost impossibly so, with high ceilings that seemed to disappear into a swirl of light. Crystals floated gently above the ground, illuminating the space with colors he had never seen before. Some shimmered like water. Others glowed like molten metal. The floor beneath him reflected faint patterns, rippling with every step like soft water. The ceremony today was historic. Delegates from over 300 star systems had gathered in the central capital of the Andarian Empire, a place renowned for its beauty and its strict traditions. Most of the beings here were alien, with skin of every imaginable shade, shapes that defied Earth logic, and eyes that seemed to hold entire worlds within them. Kai, being human, felt small in comparison, not because he lacked confidence, but because humans were still young in interstellar society. His species had only recently begun to travel between stars, and other civilizations often regarded humans with curiosity, skepticism, or sometimes amusement. Kai chose a simple chair on the side of the room, slightly behind the main delegates. It was empty, a safe space where no one would expect him to matter. From here, he could observe the ceremony quietly, take mental notes, and avoid the weight of attention. Humans had to be careful. One wrong gesture or misstep could turn admiration into distrust. As Kai settled into his chair, the air shifted subtly. The temperature seemed to drop slightly, though no one else appeared to notice. He glanced around. The delegates nearest to him were busy greeting one another, exchanging greetings in complex ways that involved gestures, vocal tones, and subtle changes in skin patterns. A few of the beings were tall, almost towering over everyone else, with translucent skin that shimmered with inner light. Others were small, no taller than Kai's waist, but their voices carried with authority that belied their size. He reminded himself to stay calm. Humans might be underestimated, but he also knew they were capable of surprising others when the time came. For now, though, he would be silent, observant, invisible. That was when he felt it. A presence beside him, powerful, unmistakable, and yet not threatening. Kai's heart skipped a beat. Slowly, he turned his head and looked at the being who had chosen to occupy the empty seat next to him. It was Queen Seraphina, the ruler of the Andarian Empire. Her presence filled the space in a way that made the air itself seem heavier, charged with energy. She was unlike anything Kai had imagined. Her skin was a soft, luminous silver, and her eyes, large and almond-shaped, reflected colors that shifted with her moods. She moved with grace, each motion deliberate, yet effortless. Even her silence felt commanding. Kai's mind raced. Why is she sitting next to me? He wondered. Delegates usually reserved seats according to rank, and humans were at the very bottom of the hierarchy in formal settings. Yet here she was, Queen Seraphina herself, choosing to sit beside him. The queen tilted her head slightly, as if reading his thoughts. Then, in a voice smooth and melodic, she spoke. You are Kai, are you not? Kai swallowed. Yes, Your Majesty, he said, keeping his tone respectful. His hands were slightly clammy, but he forced himself to remain steady. I saw you on the transport, she continued. Her voice quiet but carrying a subtle power that made him feel as if she could reach into his mind. You were observing, not rushing forward. That is rare among your species. Kai blinked. I try to learn first, he said cautiously. It helps me understand. Her eyes sparkled, and she gave the faintest smile. Observation is valuable, especially in a place like this. She glanced around the hall, where delegates were starting to settle into their assigned places. Many think humans are reckless. I find that your caution is refreshing. Kai's mind struggled to catch up. The queen was speaking to him not through formal protocols, not through distant gestures, but directly, and with genuine interest. His species had always survived by adaptability and courage, but no one had ever noticed that combination before on this scale. Not like this. He nodded, unsure of what else to say. Silence followed, but it was not uncomfortable. In fact, it felt as if time itself had slowed around them. Kai could hear the faint hum of the floating crystals, the soft rustle of alien robes, the quiet murmur of dignitaries exchanging greetings. All of it faded into the background. All that mattered was the presence beside him. "You know," Queen Seraphina said, her gaze settling on Kai, "there is a story about humans, about your first journeys into space. You went farther than anyone thought possible. And yet you did it without vast armies, without centuries of tradition. You improvised. You adapted. You endured." Kai felt a swell of pride. Humans were not perfect, far from it. They made mistakes, often catastrophic ones. But the Queen seemed to see their potential, their spark, the very essence that allowed humanity to survive and flourish despite obstacles. I don't know if we are that remarkable," Kai admitted quietly. "We try. That's all we can do." Her smile widened, though it remained subtle. Sometimes, trying is more remarkable than succeeding. For a moment, Kai could not speak. His mind raced with thoughts. Is she really talking to me like this? In front of everyone? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I embarrass my species? But as he looked at her, he felt something shift. He realized that this was not just a conversation. It was a recognition, not of him alone, but of humanity itself. The Queen's attention meant something far greater than words could express. Suddenly, the ceremony began. A soft hum filled the room as the energy conduits in the ceiling activated. Light shifted and danced across the hall, forming intricate patterns on the walls. Beings of every species raised their hands or appendages in greeting, and holographic projections displayed symbols of peace, unity, and progress. The grandeur of it all might have overwhelmed any observer, but Kai's focus remained on the Queen beside him. "Do you understand all of this?" she asked, her voice quiet enough that only he could hear. I understand enough," he said. "The meaning is clear. It is a ceremony of unity." "Good," she said. Her eyes seemed to glow faintly, reflecting the moving lights around them. "And you, human, will soon understand more than you think. This ceremony will change how many beings see your species. You must be ready. Well Sumberfor, 2000, and well Sumberfor. Kai felt a mixture of awe and fear. Humans had rarely been in the center of galactic events like this. Being recognized by the Queen herself was extraordinary. But it also meant responsibility. Every gesture, every word could carry weight. The first speaker approached the podium, a giant of a being from the Erythrian system. Its skin was a deep violet, and it had 4 arms, each adorned with intricate rings that shimmered as it moved. Its voice boomed across the hall, yet Kai could focus only on the Queen's presence beside him. "Observe," she whispered, almost conspiratorially. "Notice their reactions. Notice the small details. Humans have a gift for seeing what others overlook." 1. Kai followed her advice. He noticed the slight tension in the shoulders of the Erythrian delegates, the subtle flicker of colors in the skin of those around them, the way certain individuals leaned slightly forward when a particular word was spoken. Every detail told a story, and he understood that this was exactly what the Queen valued. The human ability to read, to analyze, to adapt. Hours seemed to pass like minutes. The ceremony continued with speeches, rituals, and displays of alien culture. Yet, through it all, Kai felt a quiet connection to the Queen, an understanding that transcended species, language, and protocol. Finally, the first part of the ceremony concluded. Delegates moved to new sections of the hall, exchanging greetings and sharing gifts. Kai, however, remained in his seat, still processing the intensity of the morning. He realized something extraordinary. By simply choosing to sit quietly on the side, he had been noticed. And in being noticed, he had earned respect. Not through power, not through wealth, not through weapons or armies, but through the quiet, human traits of observation, patience, and courage. The queen turned slightly to him, her expression unreadable, but her presence undeniably commanding. "You have potential, Kai," she said softly. "Potential not just for yourself, but for your people. The galaxy is watching humans now, and I intend to see what you can truly offer." Kai nodded, a mixture of excitement and nervousness stirring in his chest. He had no idea what lay ahead, but he knew one thing. This moment, this simple act of choosing a quiet seat, had changed everything. Humanity was no longer just a distant curiosity. Through him, they would be seen. They would be remembered. And for the first time, Kai felt the weight of his species' potential and the thrill of its possibilities coursing through him. After the grand ceremony's first part concluded, the hall began to shift. Delegates moved through the aisles, some exchanging greetings, others heading toward their assigned discussion tables. Yet Kai remained seated, still processing the weight of what had happened. The sheer energy of being noticed by Queen Seraphina, the ruler of the Andarian Empire, was almost overwhelming. He could feel his heart still racing. But beneath it, a calm curiosity began to grow. "Do you wish to walk with me?" The queen's voice came softly, startling him. She stood gracefully, her silver-clad form glimmering under the shifting lights of the hall, her hand extended in an elegant gesture. Kai hesitated only a moment before nodding. The two began walking along a wide corridor that overlooked the palace gardens. The corridor was lined with crystal pillars, each pulsing faintly with a soft inner light, casting gentle reflections on the polished floor. Outside, the gardens were alive with strange flora, plants that shimmered in colors unseen on Earth. Some plants glowed faintly, releasing gentle waves of scent that Kai could feel rather than smell. Others moved subtly, swaying as if acknowledging their presence. Kai struggled to find the right words. He had walked into this situation, expecting to observe and stay quiet. Now, the most powerful being in the galaxy was walking beside him, talking directly to him. He wondered what to say, how to behave, how to represent humanity without failing. The queen spoke first, her voice calm but with a depth that made Kai feel that every word carried weight. "You are unlike most humans I have observed." Kai blinked. "Unlike most humans?" he repeated cautiously. "Yes," she said, her eyes reflecting a spectrum of light from the crystals around them. "Many humans are brash, loud, or overly confident. Some are clever, yes, but most lack subtlety. You observe first. You listen. You learn. And you are patient. These qualities are rare." Kai swallowed. I guess I just try to understand things before acting," he admitted. "It seems safer that way." The queen smiled faintly. "Safer, yes. But it is also wiser. Many beings in this galaxy underestimate humans because they focus only on strength or numbers. They fail to notice that humans adapt. Humans survive. Humans think differently." Her words resonated deeply with Kai. He had always known that humans were different, but hearing the queen of a major galactic empire say it aloud, and with respect, felt like a validation of everything his species had endured. They walked in silence for a few moments, listening to the faint hum of energy flowing through the palace. Then she spoke again. "Tell me, Kai, what is your understanding of diplomacy?" Kai paused. He had studied diplomacy in human terms, protocols, treaties, negotiation strategies. But this was not just about following rules. This was about understanding the minds and intentions of beings from hundreds of different worlds. I think, he began carefully, that diplomacy is about listening first, understanding what others want, even if it is different from what you want, and then finding a way for both sides to succeed, or at least to respect each other. The Queen tilted her head, impressed. That is correct, she said. And yet, humans are often underestimated because your methods are quiet. Your influence is subtle, but subtlety can be stronger than power, Kai. A mind that observes and adapts is a mind that can shape events far beyond its immediate reach. Kai felt a warmth of pride mixed with nervousness. No one had ever spoken to him this way. Not a teacher, not a diplomat, not even his family. This was different. He realized that the Queen saw humans not as insignificant, but as a species with potential beyond their current rank in galactic society. They entered a section of the garden where trees grew in spirals, their leaves glowing faintly like soft lanterns. The air smelled faintly sweet, and the ground under their feet felt unusually soft. It was a peaceful space, designed for quiet reflection. The Queen paused and looked at him directly. You have potential, Kai, she said. Not just for yourself, but for your species. Humans are young, but you are capable of more than most understand. Tell me, have you ever wondered why humans survive, even against odds that would destroy other species? Kai thought carefully. I think humans survive because we try, even when everything seems impossible. We adapt. We keep going. We work together, even when we don't have the best resources. We learn from our mistakes. The Queen nodded, a faint glimmer in her eyes. Yes, that is exactly it. You are not the strongest. You are not the most advanced. But your resilience and creativity, these are things that can change the galaxy. And yet, many fail to notice until it is too late. Kai felt a shiver run down his spine. The Queen's words were inspiring, but they also carried a warning. Humans were not yet fully respected. They were still underestimated, and if they did not prove themselves in the coming events, they might remain outsiders forever. She continued, her voice lowering so that only he could hear. You will be given challenges in the coming days. Not threats, necessarily, but tests. Tests to see if humans can truly participate in galactic affairs. Observe carefully. Learn quickly. Adapt, and you will be noticed. Fail, and you will be overlooked. Kai swallowed hard. I will do my best, he said, the words firm, despite the nervousness, in his voice. Good, she said. And remember this, Kai, it is not your personal skills alone that matter. It is what they represent. Humanity. Your species has the potential to inspire, to innovate, to act in ways others cannot imagine. Do not forget that, even when the tasks seem small or insignificant. As they walked further into the garden, Kai noticed subtle gestures in the Queen's body language. She shifted slightly, almost imperceptibly, as if sending a mental signal. Then she spoke again, this time in a manner he could feel rather than just hear. Humans could not naturally communicate this way. But somehow, he felt her meaning. She was sharing her confidence in him, her belief that he could rise to meet any challenge. Kai realized that this was a rare gift, not power in the usual sense, not a weapon or authority, but trust. The trust of someone who had seen the galaxy longer, who had witnessed civilizations rise and fall, and who had chosen to believe in him. Why me? He asked quietly, almost to himself. Why do you believe in a single human? Dom. The Queen's gaze softened. Because humans have something that cannot be taught, something that cannot be predicted. The spark of ingenuity, the will to survive, the ability to adapt and to grow. That is rare. That is valuable. And you, Kai, have it in abundance. Kai felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. No one had ever spoken about humans in this way. It was as if she saw not only him, but all of humanity. Not as a fledgling species, but as a rising force with untapped potential. The garden's paths twisted through glowing flowers and gently moving plants. Some of the plants responded to their presence, shifting their light and shapes. Kai noticed it almost instinctively, aware of details that others might overlook. The queen glanced at him, a faint, approving smile appearing on her lips. "You notice things," she said softly. "This is why you will succeed where others might fail. Observation, adaptation, creativity. These are the traits of your kind. You must learn to trust them." Kai nodded. He felt a sense of clarity he had not experienced before. His species might be underestimated by others, but he now understood that they had qualities that could shape the galaxy itself. This was more than an opportunity, it was a responsibility. The queen paused at the edge of a reflective pool. The water was perfectly still, mirroring the glowing plants and stars above. She looked at him directly, her expression unreadable but intense. "You will be given tasks that will test every skill you have," she said. "Some will challenge your courage, others your patience, and some your intellect. But remember this, the galaxy respects those who rise to challenges, those who act with ingenuity and integrity. Humans can be those beings, Kai." Kai felt a surge of determination. He had come here quietly, expecting to observe and remain unnoticed. Instead, he had been chosen, noticed, trusted, and given a chance to represent his species. He realized that his actions, however small, could inspire respect for humans throughout the galaxy. As the sun, or what humans would call the sun, began to set in the garden, casting long, shifting shadows, Kai understood something profound. This was not just a walk in a palace garden with a queen. This was the beginning of a journey, a path that would test his abilities, his judgment, and his character. And through it, he would show the galaxy the unique strength of humanity. The queen finally spoke one last time before they returned to the hall. "Remember, Kai, it is not only about proving yourself, it is about proving that humanity, as a whole, has value. That is the legacy you carry now. Never forget it." Kai nodded, feeling the weight of her words sink deeply. He did not fully understand all the challenges ahead, but he knew this much. The galaxy would soon notice humans, and he was at the center of that recognition. As they walked back to the main hall, Kai's mind was alive with possibilities. He thought of Earth, of his family, of his species struggling and thriving across centuries. And he understood, in that moment, that humans were not just survivors. They were thinkers, doers, innovators. And now, they had the chance to show the universe exactly who they were. And Kai was ready. The day following the ceremony began quietly, but there was a tension in the air that Kai could feel even before he entered the grand hall. News of his proximity to Queen Seraphina had already spread among the delegates, and whispers traveled faster than he could imagine. Some delegates looked at him with curiosity, others with doubt, and a few, he noticed, with thinly veiled concern. Humans were still considered young in interstellar affairs. Most of the other species had centuries of political experience. Humans had barely begun their interstellar journey. Yet, somehow, he had drawn the attention of the galaxy's most powerful ruler. Kai took a deep breath and entered the hall. The space was buzzing with energy. Delegates were arranging their places for the next stage of the ceremony, a complex demonstration of technological and cultural prowess designed to test interspecies collaboration. Machines floated in midair, some shaped like crystalline orbs, others like delicate wings of light, and each required precise control. The display was meant to show not only each species' capability, but also how well they could work together under pressure. As Kai settled into his seat beside the Queen once again, she looked at him with quiet confidence. "Today will test more than skill," she said. "It will test your mind, your patience, and your courage. Observe carefully, Kai. Then act when the moment is right." He nodded, trying to hide the nervous excitement that surged through him. The demonstration began. A massive energy conduit rose from the center of the hall, connecting several floating devices that hummed and glowed with a soft internal light. Delegates from different worlds activated their devices, making the crystalline orbs rotate, pulse, and align in intricate patterns. The entire system was designed to maintain balance, and a single misstep could cause a cascade of errors, throwing the entire display into chaos. Kai watched closely. At first, everything seemed calm, almost serene. Delegates moved with practiced precision, communicating silently through gestures and subtle shifts in energy. But after a few minutes, a disturbance occurred. One of the devices, controlled by a species known for their brilliance but also their unpredictability, began to spin erratically. The energy field surrounding it fluctuated violently, sending sparks of light in unpredictable directions. Panic spread quickly. Some delegates froze, unsure of how to respond. Others tried to correct the malfunction, but their gestures clashed, creating further instability. The display, which had been a perfect balance of light and movement, began to falter. Patterns collapsed. The glowing orbs wavered dangerously. Kai's heart raced. This was a critical moment. If the system failed, it would not only embarrass the delegates, but also reflect poorly on all participating species. And the humans, still largely unknown, would be judged harshly for any perceived weakness. The Queen remained calm beside him, her eyes fixed on the faltering device. "Do not act too soon," she said quietly. "Observe. Understand the pattern first." Kai studied the device carefully. Unlike many species, humans were not naturally capable of reading energy patterns visually. But humans had something else. Intuition. Kai noticed subtle irregularities in the pulses, tiny differences in timing that no one else seemed to catch. He saw that the problem was not the device itself, nor the delegate controlling it. It was a timing mismatch between two interconnected orbs. If corrected properly, the system could stabilize instantly. He hesitated. Most humans would have panicked, perhaps asking for assistance or stepping back entirely. But Kai knew he could try something. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small tool he always carried. A human-designed device for fine adjustments, capable of interfacing with energy conduits. No one else had one. It was simple, practical, and effective, much like the humans themselves. Kai's fingers worked quickly, adjusting the energy pulses with precision. The chaotic spinning of the orbs slowed. Their movements began to synchronize. The surrounding devices, sensing the correction, adjusted automatically. The entire display stabilized. A hush fell over the hall. Then, slowly, the delegates began to notice. The cascading sparks of misalignment disappeared. The orbs glowed steadily, forming intricate, precise patterns once more. The demonstration resumed flawlessly, as if nothing had gone wrong. Kai exhaled, barely able to believe it. He had acted carefully, using his observation skills, human ingenuity, and quick thinking. And it had worked. The Queen turned to him, her eyes glinting with approval. "Well done, Kai. That was exactly what I expected." Whispers spread throughout the hall. Delegates looked at him with renewed interest. Some nodded in quiet respect. Others, who had doubted humans, seemed to reconsider their assumptions. Kai realized in that moment something profound. Humans were not just capable. They could excel under pressure in ways that others could not predict. One of the alien delegates approached, a tall figure with skin that shimmered like liquid silver. "You corrected the device," the delegate said, his voice calm but curious. "I did not expect a human to intervene so effectively." Kai nodded politely. "I observed the issue and acted. Humans rely on observation and adaptation. It helps in situations like this." The delegate's eyes widened slightly. "Indeed. Your species may have underestimated value beyond raw skill." Kai's mind raced. He realized that today had been more than a demonstration of technical skill. It had been a test of character. Calmness, under pressure, patience, and careful observation, these were human traits that could not easily be measured by conventional tests. And yet, in the eyes of the galaxy, these traits were starting to earn respect. After the demonstration, the delegates gathered around the Queen. Some congratulated her on the success of the event. Others tried to mask their surprise at the human's role in stabilizing the system. Kai remained beside her, feeling both pride and humility. He understood that his actions had changed perceptions, not just of him, but of humanity as a whole. Later, the Queen led him to a quiet chamber behind the main hall. The chamber was filled with soft light, plants, and gentle music that seemed to resonate with thought rather than sound. She gestured for him to sit. "Today, you did not just fix a device," she said. "You demonstrated something deeper. Humans think differently. You do not always rely on brute force or complex tradition. You rely on creativity, intuition, and adaptability. These qualities are rare among advanced civilizations." Kai listened intently. He had known that humans were clever, but hearing it acknowledged by the Queen herself was extraordinary. "You see, Kai," she continued, "many species in this galaxy rely on long-established methods, rules, protocols, centuries of tradition. Humans, you improvise. You think, you adapt, and sometimes, when others falter, your species succeeds where all others fail." Kai's chest swelled with quiet pride. He had always believed in humanity's potential, even when others doubted it. Today, he had proven it not in theory, but in action, before the most influential beings in the galaxy. The Queen's gaze softened. "You also showed courage. You did not wait for permission. You acted when it was needed. That is a rare combination: observation, intelligence, and courage. You have these traits in abundance, Kai. Never doubt them." Kai nodded, feeling a newfound confidence. He realized that the galaxy's perception of humans was shifting. Once dismissed as inexperienced and fragile, humans were beginning to be seen as capable, clever, and resilient. And he was at the center of that transformation. The chamber door opened slightly, and one of the palace aides entered. "Your Majesty, the next session is about to begin," the aide said politely. The Queen nodded. "Very well. Kai, remember what you have learned today: observation, adaptation, and courage. Keep these close. They will guide you through what comes next." Kai followed her back into the hall, walking beside the Queen with a sense of purpose he had never felt before. Delegates whispered as he passed. Some offered subtle nods of acknowledgement. Others watched in quiet surprise. For the first time, Kai felt that humans were not merely observers of galactic events. They were participants, capable of shaping outcomes through intelligence and ingenuity. As he took his seat, the Queen leaned slightly toward him. "There will be more challenges, Kai. And some will be far more difficult than this. But today, you proved that humans can rise to the occasion. Remember that. The galaxy, Is watching. Kai nodded, determination burning in his chest. He had faced his first major challenge in the heart of the interstellar assembly, and he had succeeded. Humans were no longer just a curiosity. They were capable, intelligent, and resilient, and he would continue to show the galaxy exactly what his species could do. The next session began, filled with new tests and interactions. But Kai's confidence had grown. He knew that each challenge was an opportunity, each obstacle a chance to demonstrate the unique strengths of humanity. The day's events had shown him that humans were not inferior or weak. They were adaptable, inventive, and courageous. And that realization would guide him as the ceremony continued, step by step, test by test. By the end of the day, Kai walked through the palace corridors with a quiet sense of achievement. The whispers followed him, but they were no longer dismissive. He had earned respect, not through force, not through power, but through thought, observation, and action, the very qualities that defined his species. And as he prepared for the challenges to come, Kai knew one thing with certainty. The galaxy would not forget the human who had chosen to act when it mattered most. Humanity was no longer unseen. It had arrived. The hallways of the Andarian Palace were quieter now than during the earlier ceremonies. The day's events had passed, but the energy lingered in the air, like the soft hum of a distant engine. Kai walked alongside Queen Seraphina once again, this time through a corridor that led to the palace's private observatory. The walls were made of a smooth crystal that bent light in unusual ways, creating shifting patterns of color and shadow. Outside the large windows, the galaxy stretched infinitely, stars and nebulae painting a breathtaking panorama. Kai felt a mix of awe and nervousness. Walking with the queen, talking to her, had become a strange but exhilarating routine. Every word she spoke carried weight, and every glance seemed to reveal more than appearances suggested. He had learned much about observation, patience, and action. But now, the lessons were becoming personal. "You handled yourself well today," the queen said, her voice calm yet carrying a subtle intensity. "You not only fixed the device, but you inspired confidence in those around you. That is a rare quality, Kai." Kai nodded, humbled by her words. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I try to do what seems right." She glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. "What seems right, yes. But you also act with integrity, something not all beings possess. You have proven that humans can be trusted when stakes are high." Number 3. To Dot Kai felt warmth rising in his chest. He had never been praised like this, not by a teacher, not by his family, not even by his peers. The queen's acknowledgement was different. It was deeper, more profound. She recognized humans not just as survivors, but as capable, innovative, and honorable. They entered the observatory, a vast room filled with holographic star maps and floating devices that displayed planetary systems in intricate detail. The floor was smooth and reflective, and soft light emanated from the walls, giving the room an almost ethereal glow. Kai's eyes widened. "This is incredible," he whispered. The queen smiled faintly. "It is. Here, we study, plan, and sometimes reflect. The galaxy is vast, Kai, and understanding it requires more than raw knowledge. It requires perspective, insight, and patience." Kai approached one of the floating maps. Planets rotated slowly, stars pulsed, and thin streams of light traced the paths of interstellar travel. "It's beautiful," he said. "And complicated." "Yes," she agreed. "And humans have a way of simplifying complexity without losing understanding. That is part of your strength. You see patterns, connections, and solutions others might overlook. That is why I have taken an interest in you." Kai hesitated. He wanted to speak carefully. I don't know if I deserve this attention. There are so many beings here who are far more experienced, far more powerful. The queen turned to him, her gaze steady and unwavering. Experience is valuable, yes. Power, too. But those alone do not determine impact. Sometimes, the smallest contribution, made at the right moment, changes everything. Today, you made such a contribution. You reminded the galaxy that humans are more than curiosity. They are capable, intelligent, resilient, and that is worth notice. Kai felt his confidence grow, but he also realized that this bond with the Queen was deeper than simple recognition. There was trust, mentorship, and a quiet expectation that he could rise to represent humanity in ways no one else could. He felt a responsibility he had never known before, a responsibility not just to himself, but to his species. The Queen walked to a table and gestured for Kai to follow. The surface was covered with small devices, holographic tools, and star charts. Tomorrow, she said, you will begin a new series of challenges. They are not tests of strength, nor mere demonstrations of skill. They will test your judgment, your creativity, and your ability to think beyond immediate circumstances. Humans excel in these areas when given the opportunity. Kai studied the tools on the table. Each seemed to represent a different scenario or problem, from complex energy flows to interstellar navigation puzzles. He felt both excitement and a touch of fear. I will do my best, he said, determination in his voice. I know you will, the Queen replied. And Kai, remember this. The galaxy sees what it wants to see. Some will underestimate humans. Others will doubt your worth. But what matters is that you do not doubt it yourself. Your species' potential is vast, and your actions are the proof. Kai nodded, absorbing her words. He realized she was teaching him something more than problem-solving. She was teaching him leadership, responsibility, and how to represent humanity with pride and intelligence. For a while, they studied the maps and devices in silence. The Queen occasionally pointed out patterns or anomalies, explaining how different civilizations approached problems. Kai listened intently, asking questions when he did not understand, thinking carefully before speaking. He could sense the depth of her knowledge, but also her patience. She was not teaching him to mimic her or any other species. She was teaching him to trust his own mind. After some time, the Queen stepped back from the table and looked at him with a faint smile. Kai, there is more to this than simply solving problems. You must understand the importance of relationships, trust, and diplomacy. Tomorrow, you will face situations where the right answer is not obvious. Where others may act out of pride, fear, or tradition, you must navigate carefully, creatively, and fairly. That is how humans can truly shine. Kai nodded slowly. I understand. It is not just about being clever, but about understanding others. Exactly, she said. And humans have a gift for this when they choose to use it. Observation, empathy, and adaptability. These qualities are subtle, but powerful. And you, Kai, are capable of demonstrating them. For the next several hours, they continued to study together. Kai learned not only about galactic politics, interstellar systems, and alien technologies, but also about strategy, patience, and the nuances of diplomacy. The Queen encouraged him to think critically, challenge assumptions, and consider multiple perspectives before acting. She emphasized that human ingenuity was not only technical skill, but also moral courage, empathy, and creativity. As the stars outside the observatory shifted with the passage of time, Kai began to feel a growing sense of confidence. He understood that the Queen was preparing him not just for the coming challenges, but for a role much larger than himself, a role that could influence how humans were seen across the galaxy. Finally, the Queen turned to him and said, "Kai, there is one more lesson for today. Humans are remarkable not because they have always been the strongest, but because they persevere. They adapt. They find solutions when none seem possible. That is the legacy you carry forward. Remember it, trust it, and never forget that your species' potential is limitless if you act with courage and intelligence." Kai felt a swell of pride and responsibility. He realized that he was no longer just a human among aliens. He was a representative of humanity itself, carrying its potential, its creativity, and its resilience into a galaxy that had yet to understand it fully. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said softly. The Queen smiled faintly, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder, a gesture that seemed both formal and personal at the same time. "I know you will, Kai. And remember, you are not alone. The galaxy may test you, but your mind, your judgment, and your heart are your guides. Use them well, and humans will be seen not just as survivors, but as innovators, leaders, and partners in shaping the future." As they left the observatory, Kai felt a renewed sense of purpose. The palace corridors seemed less intimidating, the whispers of delegates less overwhelming. He walked with his head held high, knowing that he carried something extraordinary, not a weapon, not power, but the proof of humanity's ingenuity and courage. Later, as he rested in his chambers, Kai reflected on the lessons of the day. Observation, patience, adaptability, empathy, and courage. These were not just qualities of a skilled diplomat. They were qualities that defined his species. And now, more than ever, he understood the responsibility he carried. Every action, every decision, every demonstration of human skill could shape how the galaxy viewed humanity. Kai thought about the future. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, tests that would push him to apply everything he had learned. But he felt ready. He had the Queen's guidance, the confidence of his own mind, and the strength of humanity behind him. He knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but he also knew that humans had never faced easy paths and failed. And as he drifted into sleep, he felt a quiet excitement, a thrill that came not from personal glory, but from the opportunity to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. The next day would bring new trials, and Kai would be ready. Humans would not just survive in this galaxy, they would thrive, and he would play his part in making sure the galaxy knew it. The final day of the ceremony arrived with a sense of quiet anticipation. The Grand Hall was more alive than ever, filled with delegates from hundreds of worlds. This session was the culmination of the events, the ultimate demonstration of skill, intelligence, and diplomacy. Every delegate knew that their actions today would be remembered, and Kai felt the weight of responsibility pressing against his chest. He walked through the corridors with measured steps, his posture steady. The lessons of the past days had become part of him. Observation, patience, adaptability, empathy, and courage. These were the traits the Queen had praised, the qualities that humans possessed in abundance, and the tools he would need to succeed. As he entered the hall, he noticed the quiet buzz of conversation. Delegates whispered, glanced toward him, and then quickly returned to their own discussions. Kai sensed curiosity, skepticism, and, in some eyes, faint admiration. Word of his actions from the previous day had spread quickly, and it seemed that humans were no longer dismissed as novices. Queen Seraphina was waiting at the edge of the central dais. She greeted him with a subtle nod, her expression calm but commanding. "Today will test more than skill," she said. "It will test your judgment, your leadership, and your ability to inspire others. Remember, humans are being watched. You represent more than yourself. You represent an entire species." Kai took a deep breath. He nodded firmly. "I understand, Your Majesty." The first challenge was announced: a complex interspecies negotiation exercise. Delegates were grouped into teams, each tasked with resolving a series of simulated crises across multiple planets. The scenarios were intricate, involving political disputes, environmental hazards, and resource distribution conflicts. The stakes were high, and failure could damage trust between entire civilizations. Kai's group included delegates from 4 other species, each highly experienced in diplomacy. At first, the discussion was tense. Languages, gestures, and mental impressions combined in a complicated dance. Some delegates were arrogant, others cautious, and a few outright suspicious of humans. Kai remained silent initially, listening carefully, noting patterns in communication and the priorities of each species. After a few minutes, a disagreement arose about the allocation of energy resources to a colony system experiencing a severe power shortage. Several species argued over technicalities, each defending their own interests. Kai recognized an opportunity. Humans were outsiders, yes, but that gave him a fresh perspective. Perhaps we are overlooking a simpler solution, he suggested, speaking calmly. If we adjust the energy flow gradually, balancing between systems while avoiding sudden shifts, all colonies can receive enough power without causing overloads. The other delegates paused, some surprised, some skeptical. Kai quickly drew diagrams in the shared holographic space, showing how small adjustments could stabilize the energy distribution. He explained each step clearly, emphasizing fairness and efficiency. Slowly, the group began to see the value of his approach. They implemented the adjustments, as Kai suggested. The energy stabilized across all systems, and the simulated crisis was resolved without conflict. The other delegates turned to him with nods of approval, and even a few subtle smiles. Queen Serafina watched from the dais, her eyes glinting with quiet pride. Kai could feel her approval as a presence beside him, even without words. The second challenge was more physical, though still requiring intellect and cooperation. A simulated asteroid storm threatened a vital trade route, and the group had to navigate ships through dangerous trajectories. Many delegates relied on complex calculations, vast computational support, or raw experience. Kai relied on observation, intuition, and human ingenuity. He noticed patterns in the movement of the asteroids that others overlooked: slight variations in trajectory, speed fluctuations, and subtle gravitational effects caused by nearby planets. Using a combination of logic and improvisation, he suggested minor adjustments to the flight paths, allowing all ships to pass safely. When the simulation ended, the observers erupted into polite applause. The delegates in Kai's group turned to him with genuine admiration. Humans, it seemed, were not only capable of thinking creatively, but also of solving problems under pressure in ways that others could not predict. The final challenge of the ceremony was announced, and it was the most important. A delicate diplomatic crisis had been simulated, a dispute over territorial rights between 2 newly contacted planets. The solution required negotiation, compromise, and above all, leadership. Delegates were paired, and Kai was placed in a team with representatives from the 2 disputing planets. At first, the negotiations were tense. Voices rose, gestures became sharp, and some delegates tried to assert dominance. Kai remembered the lessons the Queen had taught him. Listen first, observe, adapt, and act when the moment is right. He began by asking each party to explain their priorities and concerns. He listened carefully, noting the subtle cues in voice, gesture, and energy flow. Then, he summarized their positions, showing that he understood both sides. This simple acknowledgement of each perspective calmed tensions immediately. Perhaps there is a solution that allows both of you to maintain your interests while supporting the needs of the other, Kai said. He suggested a phased approach, sharing resources temporarily, while long-term agreements were negotiated. establishing a system of joint oversight to ensure fairness, and providing incentives for collaboration. The delegates hesitated, then began to nod. They realized the fairness of his proposal and how it respected both parties' needs. Slowly, the negotiations shifted from confrontation to cooperation. By the end of the exercise, both planets had agreed to the plan. Diplomacy had succeeded, and Kai had guided the process without coercion, using reason, empathy, and strategy. The room fell silent for a moment, then erupted in applause. Queen Seraphina stepped forward, smiling openly for the first time in the ceremonies. She addressed the hall, her voice carrying authority and warmth. "Today, we have witnessed the strength of human ingenuity," she said. "Kai has demonstrated that humans are not merely survivors. They are thinkers, problem solvers, and partners capable of shaping the future of our galaxy. Let this be remembered. Humanity is a species of potential, creativity, and courage." The applause grew louder, delegates turning to Kai with newfound respect. Some approached him to offer congratulations. Others simply nodded in acknowledgement. For the first time, he felt the weight of recognition, not just as an individual, but as a representative of humanity. Kai turned to the Queen, who gave him a subtle nod and a faint smile. He felt gratitude, inspiration, and responsibility all at once. Her belief in him had guided his actions, and now, her trust had helped change the perception of an entire species. After the ceremony, the Queen invited Kai to a private chamber for reflection. The room overlooked the galaxy, stars twinkling like distant jewels. "You have done well, Kai," she said, her voice calm but filled with warmth. "Today, you showed the galaxy what humans can do. Not through force, not through power, but through intelligence, courage, and empathy. These are the qualities that define your species, and the qualities that will shape your future." Kai nodded, feeling the truth of her words settle within him. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I never imagined humans could be seen this way." The Queen smiled faintly. "That is because humans have always underestimated themselves. Now the galaxy sees what you have always known, that your species is capable of greatness. And you, Kai, have proven it." Kai looked out at the stars, feeling a deep sense of connection not just to the Queen, not just to his own actions, but to humanity itself. He realized that the simple qualities humans possessed, adaptability, ingenuity, courage, empathy, were now visible to the entire galaxy. Humans were no longer distant observers. They were participants, partners, innovators. The ceremony concluded with a final toast. Queen Seraphina raised her glass, signaling to all delegates, to Kai, and to humanity. May they continue to show the galaxy the value of courage, ingenuity, and heart. Delegates followed suit, raising their glasses or gestures in acknowledgement. Cheers and respectful applause echoed through the hall. Kai felt a swell of pride, not for himself, but for his species. Humans had taken their first meaningful step into the wider galaxy, and their presence would no longer be ignored. Later, as he walked through the palace gardens one last time, Kai reflected on everything that had happened. A simple choice to sit quietly on the side had set off a chain of events that changed how humans were seen forever. From observation to action, from patience to courage, each step he had taken demonstrated the best of humanity. The galaxy had noticed. And now, humans had the chance to build upon this recognition, to participate fully, to innovate, to lead. Kai understood that the future held challenges far greater than any ceremony. But he also understood that humans were ready. They had the tools, the creativity, and the spirit to rise to any occasion. He looked up at the stars, feeling both humility and excitement. This was only the beginning. Humanity's journey among the stars had truly begun. And Kai knew, with certainty, that humans would not just survive, they would thrive. The queen approached, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "This is your first step, Kai," she said softly. "Take it with courage, and humans will never be overlooked again." Kai nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "I will, Your Majesty. For humanity." And as he gazed at the endless expanse of stars, he realized that the galaxy had finally begun to see what humans had always known. That they were not just a species among many. They were innovators, survivors, and partners in shaping the universe. And with that knowledge, Kai felt ready to face whatever lay ahead.